Meet Greg. If you asked him to describe himself, he would tell you he is a deeply ethical, independent thinker. He prides himself on his strong moral compass. Right now, his executive team is rolling out a new corporate policy. As Greg reviews the proposal, he realizes it intentionally deceives their customers. It is an undeniable, carefully structured scam. He looks around the mahogany table, waiting for someone to point out the glaring ethical violation. Instead, the marketing director nods. The CFO agrees. One by one, the crushing pressure mounts as every single colleague expresses unified agreement with the corrupt strategy. Then, the vice president turns to Greg and directly asks for his input. Greg pauses. He swallows his objections, forces a tight smile, and he actively agrees with the plan. The meeting moves forward without a single objection raised. Greg sits frozen, hit with an immediate, heavy wave of self-disgust. Greg's moral failure in that boardroom was a biological reflex. He was executing the exact response human beings are programmed to perform under social pressure. We like to view ourselves as rational, independent actors who make decisions based on objective facts. The psychological act of conformity, matching our attitudes and behaviors to group norms, shatters that myth entirely. In 1951, psychologist Solomon Asch tested the limits of this behavior. He placed a single real subject in a room at a long table, surrounded by people who were secretly paid actors. Subjects had to look at the target line on the left and state which of the three lines on the right matched. The answer was obvious, but the hidden actors answered first, deliberately choosing the wrong line. Faced with a unified but entirely incorrect majority, 75% of participants ignored their own eyes and agreed with the group's false answer at least once. They betrayed objective reality simply to avoid standing out. If human beings will willingly deny objective physical reality to appease a crowd, they will easily deny their invisible moral reality when pressured. Defying the group triggers a biological response that entirely bypasses reason. In the moment, standing alone feels physically impossible. The human brain interprets social rejection using the exact same neural pathways that process literal physical pain. To the primitive human brain, being exiled from the tribe means death. Because of this, we are biologically wired to conform, even if the group is dead wrong. This trap is compounded by a phenomenon known as the diffusion of responsibility. A corporate boardroom, much like a crowd, acts as a psychological shield. When humans are placed in a group setting, their personal sense of moral accountability vanishes. This is how individuals participate in spreading a toxic rumor or approving a corporate scam without feeling an ounce of guilt. They rationalize that everyone else is doing it, so it is not their fault. The acute biological desire to avoid pain, combined with the moral shield of the crowd, creates an almost inescapable biological trap. It completely paralyzes the individual conscience. At the follow-up meeting the next week, Greg sits in the same sterile boardroom. The shield of shared responsibility has finally cracked, under the weight of his own self-disgust. Greg is beginning the process of individuation. Individuation is an agonizing psychological process. It requires the deliberate development of an internal moral compass that is decoupled from external validation. As the executives go around the table asking for final sign-off, Greg takes a terrifying, isolating stand. He breaks the consensus, looks the executives in the eye, and absolutely refuses to participate in the scam. Dead silence falls over the room. Greg sits in the uncomfortable aftermath, actively accepting the physical, biological pain of being disliked and misunderstood. Later that day, Greg packs up his desk. He is socially exiled and likely losing his job, but his posture reflects a complete reclamation of his soul. True freedom requires the willingness to be hated by the herd. In any room, the person who is completely unafraid of social exile is the only one who cannot be controlled.